I had to go move my car really quick from the loading zone, but I heard the tail end of Danny's talk. It's really good. A lot of good things. I could say a lot of things. I'm a fourth year now, going into family medicine. Applied for residency 2 weeks ago. Have some interviews, so it's pretty exciting. But I want to take you back to my first year. It was test cycle 5. And those of you who have been there, and those of you who will be there, it's renal physiology. Yeah, nephrology. And endocrine, yeah. I had this bad habit that I started first year. I would go really slowly all the way up until like the week before tests. And then I would like kick into this hypomanic mode and just go through like 25 lectures. And so it was the Friday before test week. It was the end of dead week. A long week of studying, test cycle 5, and I was behind. And I was discouraged. I had been studying in alumni hall and pathology lab. And it was sundown, and I had to stop because Sabbath, personally, it's really important for me to take a break at least one day a week, and Sabbath is that day for me. And so I knew I had to stop. I knew I had to rest. But I don't know if any of you have been there and you have so much to do, but you either have to stop and go to bed because you know it's the best thing for you, or it's Sabbath. It's just really hard to let go sometimes. But I had to let go, and I walked outside and was on my way to the School of Medicine Vespers at Drayson Center. And I just didn't feel like being around people. And so I just went and I kind of walked around the mall there, you know, by the globe and the benches. And I kind of ended up picking this bench to sit on and just think about life and what in the world I'm doing. And so I came up with some thoughts while I was sitting down there. And this is what I wrote down on March 13, 2015. The work of restoration and healing only comes through suffering and hard labor, or maybe discipline, although I feel like I am mentally suffering right now. I was in mental anguish. You think about medical school and about the stresses it brings and how much other people are suffering way more than we are in the world. People who don't have food, who don't have water, who don't have clothing, who are in really bad situations. But the reality of it is that medical school is a mental struggle. And it can be really, really hard at times. The verse that came to my mind that day was Ecclesiastes 1:18. It says, "For in much wisdom it is much grief, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow." And that really hit home for me that day. And I just kind of sat there thinking about that verse and be like, wow, that's me right now. But my eyes happened to fall down on the table I was sitting, and I don't know how many of you have been out on those tables, but they have quotes in the middle of them. And I was at this one table, and I looked down, and there was a quote by Claire Fagan. She was an American nurse, educator, academic, and consultant. She was born in 1926. She got a bachelor's degree in science from Wagner College, a master's in nursing from Columbia University, and a PhD from New York University. So she's a nurse and she's an educator. And she happened to say a quote that was written right on that table in front of me. And it was literally like the voice of God speaking to me. It was a continuation of Ecclesiastes 1:18, word for word. I'll read it to you again. "For in much wisdom is much grief, and he who increases knowledge increases sorrow." And this is the quote. "But knowledge will bring the opportunity to make a difference." I just felt chills at that moment, and I was like, God, that's what I needed to hear. In that moment, 2 years ago, test cycle 5, God really spoke to me that what I am doing, just the mental anguish and the struggle to get this knowledge inside of my head, it's going to pay off, and I'll be able to make a difference one day. And that was really encouraging, because the first 2 years of medical school are a struggle. It's some of the most interesting material you'll ever study, but it's also, I know second year was the hardest year of my life, and you just don't have a lot of avenues to just let out this knowledge, and that's why third year was so fulfilling for me, and fourth year is even better. But I just want to encourage those of you who are there right now. Maybe you've had that struggle. Maybe you've had those feelings like, well, what in the world am I doing here? But I just want to tell you that what you're doing will bring you the opportunity to be used by God to make a difference. And making a difference, we see that at this school as being the hands and feet of Jesus to people in this world. And so I just want to encourage you with that, and I hope that something that we've said today will just really be an encouragement to you as you go into this next test cycle throughout the rest of this year. It's a temporary season that you guys are going through, and it will get better, believe me. And you will have the opportunity to make a difference by God's grace.